AuthorTube! I'm excited to join your family! How did I find out about AuthorTube? When I was in the process of illustrating Just Me Wrigley, I was doing a lot of digital art on one of my computer monitors, and so then on the other monitor I had YouTube videos playing all the time. Over the course of that process, I kind of fell down a million different YouTube rabbit holes. I learned about this guy named Jake Paul. I think I unintentionally became a fan of PewDiePie. And so along that whole journey, I think I somehow discovered the AuthorTube community as well, and I thought you guys were awesome. What genres do I write in? As I mentioned in my BookTube Newbie video, I write in two very specific genres. Cute picture books about real rescue dogs, and lesbian sci-fi. What is my preferred writing tense, point of view, and category of story? Present tense, alternating first person, contemporary young adult. Are you a plotter, a pantser, or a plantser? I once did a comic series about my spathiphyllum plant, so maybe I'm a plantser. Okay, if I'm understanding the writer internet lingo correctly, a plotter would be like someone who outlines their whole story before they start, right? And then a pantser would be like someone who just free writes as they go and kind of makes it up along the way. And then a plantser would be like a combination of those two, or like someone who plans parts of the story but then kind of improvs other parts. Is that right? I guess in that case I would be a plantser. Plantser. I can't pronounce that. Are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? I guess kind of all three, if that's allowed. So the main thing I'm known for is my Forever Home Friend series, which is my series of children's books about real rescue dogs. And I guess those are technically self-published because I didn't work with an outside publishing company on those. But I really kind of built Forever Home Friends as a business from the ground up. I've been running it as an LLC, and we don't just produce books, we also produce stuffed animals and t-shirts and other merchandise. So, I mean, yes, it's self-published in the sense that Forever Home Friends published those books. I didn't sign a book deal. But I feel like it's more of a startup rather than a self-published book series, since there's more to it, if that makes sense. Like, if Jane down the street started making her own candles and she started up this small candle business and then was competing with Yankee Candle and then went to craft fairs or whatever, people wouldn't be like, oh, those are self-published candles. Like, no, that's a small business that's growing. I don't see why it has to be any different with books. Like, why do we have to categorize everything into either self-published or traditionally published? Like, I don't think drawing such a hard line in the sand and taking such a black and white approach is doing anyone any good, but that's just my opinion, and I'll probably make another entire video about my opinions on that entire thing later on. That being said, I do have one undoubtedly self-published book, which is Beauty King, and I do have one book that I worked on a publisher with, which is Sculpt Yourself. What publishing company or literary agent am I represented by or use? And if I'm not published, what is my dream publishing house or literary agent? So for Sculpt Yourself, I went with Represent Publishing, which is a really new, small press that was just started this year. They only have like 4 or 5 books out right now. I'm really proud to be working with a small business since, like I mentioned, I started the Forever Home Friends as a small business, so I'm glad to kind of have small businesses working together in all facets of my writing career. I'm still on the fence about whether or not I want an agent. I'm considering going like the big publishing house route for this new novel I just finished writing called 90s Kids, but I'm not sure if I want to work with like a publisher that doesn't require an agent, or if I want to work with an agent on just that book specifically, because I don't want to work with an agent for Forever Home Friends since I own that business. So I'm still not sure. If anyone has any advice about this process, please feel free to give me a comment or respond to my video. I would love to get advice from other people on what direction I should take in this, because this has been a debate I've been having back and forth with myself for years. What AuthorTube related videos can you expect to find on my channel? A lot of writing tips videos. I've already made a few of those, so I love doing those. I also, in the past, have done some videos where I dramatically read bad things that I wrote when I was in middle school. So like my emo middle school poetry, or like the fantasy novel I tried to write when I was 14. So like terrible stuff like that. I could do more of that too. We can make fun of me. I'd also like to do some collaborations with other authors, maybe do some interviews, And I also recently posted a BookTube Newbie video as well, so my channel will also include some book reviews and that kind of thing. And as always, videos about dogs. When did I start writing? Christmas of 1996. I will go into the story in the next question. What was the first story you ever wrote? I love telling this story. When I was 4 years old in 1996, my mom and I adopted our first rescue dog. He was a little long-haired Chihuahua mix named Sam. So cute. That Christmas, we put all the presents under the tree and we taped candy canes onto each of the presents. And then one day, my mom was up in the shower and I was downstairs playing with Sam when I noticed that the candy cane from one of the presents was missing, and I was like looking all over for it, like, oh my god, where's the candy cane? And then I looked at Sam's mouth and I saw little peppermint shavings stuck to his fur, and I was like, oh my god, he ate it. So I just thought this was the funniest thing in the world. So immediately I was like, I need to write a book about this. So 4-year-old Savvy went and got some printer paper and stapled it together and started writing and illustrating a book. I think it was called Sam and the Candy Cane or something like that. And from then on, I just could not stop writing. When I was 15 years old, Sam unfortunately passed away. He was also about 15 at the time, so it was expected. But kind of in his memory, I wrote a short story about him, about how adopting him was like it had a major impact on my life, and also how it inspired me to write my first story. I had submitted the story to Delaware Beach Life magazine, which seems kind of random, but my grandma lived at the Delaware beach, so I kind of knew about it that way. And that story was one of the first things I ever got published. And there's a little illustration of Sammy. So writing about a real rescue dog was responsible for the first story I ever wrote, and also for one of my first published pieces ever. So I think that like writing about dogs has always been my calling, and now writing about rescue dogs is my career. Guys, I love dogs so much. What authors have inspired my writing the most? Definitely Barbara Park. Her Junie B. Jones series, and the way that she kind of combined that innocent yet sassy voice and created an interesting young first-person narrative out of that was a huge inspiration when I was in the process of creating the voice for Princess Allie, the first Forever Home Friends book. As for my novel writing, I would say that Rainbow Rowell has been a huge influence on me. When she released the book Carry On, and I read that, and I kind of studied the way that she did the alternating first-person narrative and managed to capture so many different voices and tell different facets of a story from different perspectives. That inspired me to try that approach in Sculpt Yourself, and then I also did an alternating first-person in 90s Kids, which is the novel I just wrote and I'm still revising. So I would say that in terms of my novel-style writing, she's been a huge influence on me, and I love her work. Do you schedule your writing sessions, or simply get to writing whenever you have the time? I generally work best with a schedule. I use 3 different calendars. I use first my Google Calendar, then I use my physical planner, which I fill with stickers, and then I use my bullet journal. Right now, I'm in grad school. I'm teaching creative writing to kids. I'm working as a music journalist. I'm working on growing the Forever Home Friends as a business. And so I have to schedule pretty much everything. But that's okay. I like it that way. I really like what I do. Do you type on a computer or typewriter, or handwrite, or use a blend of those? I don't write on a typewriter. I feel like if I did, I'd just look like a big poser hipster kid, and I don't want that. I write both by hand and on the computer. Generally, if I'm going to be out a lot of the day and I want to just write wherever I am, I'll carry a notebook or a journal with me, and then I'll just write whatever's in my head when I have a chance, when I'm on the train, when I'm in between classes, that kind of thing. When I get home, I like to type it up on my desktop computer, and I'd say my desktop computer right over here in my office is where I do the majority of my work. What are you looking forward to now that you're a part of AuthorTube? Honestly, meeting new authors. It's a majority of the reason I got so involved in Twitter over the past 2 years. I just really love making new writer friends and meeting other people in this community. So I will be back next Friday with another video. In the meantime, please subscribe to my channel. Please leave a comment introducing yourself. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to subscribe to your channel as well so we can get to know each other. Let's be friends, guys!